in the light of what transpired yesterday in Nandi, I think it is important that we can sort of contextualize this and have a look at it in terms of what are the powers, what are the privileges and the responsibilities of the community itself, the Council of Elders of these 12 tribes of Kalenjin, and then of course the Kirwagik, what you call the Kirwagik or the chiefs, and the Maotik, who are the prophets, and also specifically this particular clan that is called the Talai, that the Kalenjin nation in all their 12 tribes seems to supplicate or revere or honor them above every other clan. And we want to look at that and see, and so that we can understand what is their movement and how have they become sort of like a pillar of the community in terms of making decisions going forward, not just in Kalenjin nation, but by extension the whole nation and the 12 natural, the 14 natural nations of Kenya. Now, if you would go back a bit, before the Talai clan moved into position of power in Kalenjin, there was what you would call the leaders of the community of the Kalenjin, of the various communities of our Kalenjin. But the natural understanding in every society is that the superior always rules over the inferior. The superior tends to attract or the weaker communities or the weaker societies coalesce or aggregate around a stronger personality or a stronger community for purposes of security, for purposes of progress into posterity. And so what happened is, when the Talai, which had the origin in Maasai nation, came into Kalenjin, they replaced what was there because they were stronger. They seem to have an insight that not every other person or every clan in Kalenjin used to have, and so they were given that position. But originally, what used to happen and what made them to move to other nations is that their custom and practices back in the days is that in a family of Talai clan, when they would have two sons, for example, they would let them have a practice around the village and around the compounds in the communities and see which of the sons is sort of smarter and have spiritual insight into heavenly things. And these things would be then what decide how they would rule over the people. So what happens is, the one that has a lesser skill in terms of spiritual interaction would be killed. And so in Maasai, they have a forest called Naiminiengio. The meaning of that is that this is a forest where the children disappeared into. It is called Naiminiengio, meaning it is where the children disappeared into. Now, what used to happen is that they would kill one child so that they would retain one. And this one would be assumed to be the most superior, the most powerful, the most smartest, the most insightful spiritually into heavenly issues that concern territorial adjudication, territorial jurisdiction, or conquest, or things that would pertain to leadership and decisions that were far, far away into the future, that not normal or common men would be able to look at it. And so they attained that position when they came into the Kalenjin. So what happened when the new knowledge came into the place, they stopped killing the sons. So what happened is, they would send them into other nations. So when they went to a place like Luo Nyanza, they would become the Luos, and when they came to Kipsigis or Nandi, they became part of the Kalenjin community. And from there, they took over the leadership, because then, of course, this was a specific time that the colonial masters were coming into the country, into the territory, and they were trying to take over land and everything. And Kotalel was already in Nandi, and he informed them that this and this was going to happen. We need to get ready. We need to prepare, because we have to resist. And yes, the time came and they resisted for 11 years. And finally, one of the German mercenary who was employed by the royal family happened to have managed to hoodwink Koitalel into a death trap and shot him and killed him, and took his head to London, his fingers, his paraphernalia of leadership and things like those. Now, the Talai clan, from that particular time until today, have hosted these powers in a community, and they have continuously been looked upon by the communities, the 12 communities of the Kalenjin nation, as for what it is. But then with the advent of colonial government and education, that seems to have been relegated, but not necessarily completely off the chart, because if you go back to history, Kenyatta, Moi, and even Raila, and even Mzee Kibaki was in Talai, was blessed there when he was opening the Koitalel museum, when they returned the paraphernalia of leadership from the UK. So what happened yesterday is unfortunate because as a community looking at the Talai clan, we expect them to have be people of a high moral stature, whereby they should not be in any way putting the community in a situation where the leadership or the societal movement seems to be precarious. And we sort of try to ask them to be more honorable, because we have given them the trust that they deserve, to be honorable and respect themselves, so that the community can be able to continue to respect them. It is not okay that we are discussing these things that are very custom, very cultural in a public arena, but we want to tell them that they need to go back to the drawing board and see that it is important that they keep the respect that they have had from the beginning in the community. Number two, it is important to understand how they are organized. Among the 12 tribes of Kalenjin, we have what you call the Talai clans all over, because the Kalenjin community leadership is based on consensus, and the consensus is held by the Council of Elders. The Council of Elders then are the leaders, the cultural leaders of the communities, the 12 communities of Kalenjin. And the Council of Elders lead the communities in consultation with the Talai clan, because they have the final power and privilege of being able to pass the baton of leadership from one generation to the other generation. And because of that, they are always in consultation with the Council of Elders. So every community of Kalenjin, every 12 tribes of Kalenjin, they have Talai. Even the Suk, the Pokot, they have what they call Wergoyon. And Wergoyon in Pokot just means Orkoyot. That is what the Talai clan is. Now, what normally happens in a situation whereby a leader wants to be blessed is that it is always a proposal from the Council of Elders. It is not a proposal of an individual. It is not a proposal of one clique of what you would call professionals or people who think they are smart and they can think ahead. No, no, no. It is always a consultation of the Council of Elders. And all these 12 tribes of Kalenjin, each tribe have a Council of Elders, and they have in those communities their Talai clans. And when they have their Talai clans, they are the ones who speak to whoever now rules or leads the Talai clan per season and per time, because they also don't lead. They don't lead without end. They lead with end, because they also have generational after generational leadership. So whatever happened is something that we need to bring to light. That it would have been proper for Gideon Moi to speak to the Samor Council of Elders or the Tugen Council of Elders, and sort of have a conversation across the board, across with the Nandi, and so see how this can be done without him just walking into the place and having this backlash of youth marauding around the place. But then the second thing that we need to highlight is that this is a game of power. This is a game of spirit, because games of power are games of spirit. And if indeed the purported leader who was going to bless Gideon Moi was the superior one, then we assume then that he would have known that there was going to be a problem that very early morning, and so he would have been able to avert it, or stop the ceremony, or change the dates, or bring it to midnight or tomorrow later in the night or something like that. But the fact that he didn't manage to see this happening, then of course cancels his position as a Talai clan leader or a Talai superior clan leader, because the superior one must be able to see into the spirit. The superior one must be able to understand what might happen tomorrow, or they can see tomorrow and be able to tell us what then is going to come. Otherwise, their position is not useful, because that Talai position is a position whereby they can pierce into the spirit and see the things that will happen tomorrow, next week, next year. And that is why they have that position. That is even why in the original Kalenjin setting and original Kalenjin talk, you know, they were not allowed to go into, you know, what you call Kirwaget in Kalenjin, means a place of baraza or a place of, or the court. They will not go to such places, or they will not be allowed to be chiefs. They will not be allowed to lead, for example, because they were thought to be superior and have advantage over the rest, and so they were not allowed to take advantage over the rest, and that's why they were never given that position. But of course, there are many Talais. You know, we have the Talai, which is what we call Talai Ngetun. Those are different. Those are the ones now we are speaking, the ones that we say they have this gift from God. And then there are Talai Kiplelu, and then there are Talai Linyo. These ones are allowed to, you know, vie for positions of MCA, positions of leadership. But this particular one, they attain this privilege and power because they also sacrifice the fact that they can't also go into positions of leadership and elective position, but stay back to be able to pierce into the future and guide the council of elders and guide what you call the prophets in the community. So basically, it is important to understand that position so that you understand how they work. Because if then they do not have that gift, then it will be useless to say then that is a Talai leader. Because if every season per time, there will be one Talai who has a very sharp insight into the spiritual heavenly things. But then if he didn't see that, then you are right to say then that he wasn't the leader to bless. Now, but then also we need to come back to the council of elders and sort of insist or emphasize that they need to go back to these cultures, contextualize them so that they can be able to talk among themselves. For example, we have what you call the Miot. Miot is the Supreme Kalenjin Council of Elders, and every chairman of every sub tribe of Kalenjin, the Nandi, the Marakwet, the Sengwer, the Aror, Samor, Lembus, and Orais, Kipsigis, Keyo would sit together. So the 12 of them would sit and form the Supreme Council, and they would be discussing such things. So, but then that didn't even come to that discussion because they have no minutes, they have no discussion to such that they wanted to bless this new leader in place of the older leader or something like that. So it is a responsibility that must be coordinated between the council of elders, the community itself, and then the prophets, or what we call Tisik, and the Orgoyot, the Talai clan. So we just want to encourage them to know that they have the trust of the community. And when you have a trust is something that you really have to be more organized to be able to keep it. You have to be more respectful, more honorable, and keep the position of power, the position of moral stature that you have given in the family, in the community, so that you can continue to keep it. Otherwise, in the past, when Kalenjin used to go to Kapkoros or used to go to Mabwai, every year, once a year, they will go there. And if this year Talai were given to bless, and the Kabil clan will curse. And the next year, if they were given to curse, the other year they will be given to bless. So it's very easy then for the elders in future to sit and sort of now put this into program if this trust is not respected, and if this trust is not kept in a sacred, most cardinal way, so that it can continue to put us into a trajectory where we're going into posterity, looking at progress in prosperity. And that is really my point. Thank you, and God bless you.